So this is the book, yeah? So just so you know, Aristoteles used to say that if you should speak to someone, you should never say more than 3 things. Because if you say more than 3 things, they will forget everything you said. So I will just say 3 things. What about the situation today? What about the history of what I'm going to talk about? And number 3, what about the evaluation, the research, and the way ahead? Those 3 things I should like to say something about today. Some time ago, I was visiting a big publishing house. I could say to you, I don't exactly got what she said before, but I have been a publisher in my life. I have been working very hard in the digital area, and I established my first company in digital and electronic publishing in 1992. So I've been in this part. And 1.5 years ago, I had the possibility to speak in the Swedish Parliament, Riksdagen, about these kind of things. And I underlined very strongly that I'm not an either-or person. I'm still, after 40 years in this field, I'm looking for the hybrid, the good combination of analog and digital, also in school, education, and also among adult people. So I just have to say that before I start, because we have had many disappointing things in these 40 years. A couple of months ago, I was visiting to have a speech for a major Norwegian publisher. After talking for 15 minutes or something like that, I looked at them and said, "You are not really my customer." And they said, "What? You have printed all our books?" "No," I said, "you are not really my customer. I have only 2 customers in my life. It's a boy and a girl, and they are 6 years old. And now today, I'm reaching out my hand to you, dear Tuva, who is the boss of this company in Norway. Can we cooperate into the future, both digital and analog, to serve those 2 customers? Because now you have lost 1 generation of readers. If you lose 1 more generation of readers, you can close the door." Afterwards, she gave me a great hug and said this was a good discussion, and they are still a customer of Skadbook. Some years ago, I was in Hanoi to speak about the European industry, and after some time waiting for me, I was running up on the stage with a mobile phone in front of me and said, "Sorry, there was 600 people there. Sorry, I don't have time for you because I found a Pokemon that I've never seen before." People laughed because they understood the joke. But a friend of mine, a guy I know, is Fredrik Øyestad, he said one morning, he's a teacher up at secondary school. They are 17, 18 years old. One Monday morning, he said to all his pupils, "I have a question to you today. Could I take a picture of your phone?" Everybody in the classroom said, "Yes, you can take a picture." He took a picture of how they have used their phone the last week. The average was something. The top level was 59.7 hours. The lowest one was 31.4 hours, and the average was 45.4 hours for the whole class. Then he wrote an article in the biggest newspaper in Norway about these kind of things. 80% of their use of the phone, 80%, they were 17, 18 years old, was TikTok. 20% was chat. I think this is a serious thing. Yesterday, I read in a Swedish newspaper that they made a bigger scope analysis in Sweden, and they come to a result, the same age group, to 7 hours every day on the smartphone. In Norway, a very famous author called Maja Lunde Some of you might have heard about a book once that was named The History of the Bees. Now she was writing a book called The Screen and the Children. And there was a big conference in Oslo with a lot of people coming there. I think 90% of the people coming there were parents with children in primary school. It was a fantastic evening in the Literature House of Oslo, talking about the situation in school. This is part of what is really going on for the time being, and the discussion is going high in many countries about the evaluation and the situation, and I will come back to that. Once upon a time, I was studying information technology, and yes, maybe another picture. Close friends. In 1979, I was studying information technology, and suddenly on my desk, I found a research report from Christian Michelsen Institute in Bergen, Norway. That was an analysis of the digitalization of the world, so to say. The abstract said that the future is digital. The future is digital, and the last paper-based document in the world will be produced in the year 1989. And New York Times would by far be fully digitalized long before 1989. This was professors and researchers who created this document. But I was studying information technology at that time. I think, yes, that's the future, so let's go ahead. So just a couple of years later, they were looking for a guy in Norway to take the responsibility for implementation of digital tools in school. Yes, I'm here, I'm ready for it. I remember once I was visiting some companies in London, coming home with an airplane to Norway, and I felt that the airplane took a very long time to reach back to Oslo, because I had so many ideas about how we, in a few weeks, should digitalize the school in Norway. I'm sorry to say that today. After that, I've seen 40 years of history that's been really strange. I can't go into depth what happened through the 80s, through the 90s. But in 87, I left to build up my own research institute in the printing industry, and further on other things that I've been doing in the industry. That was fantastic. And when you look at the 80s and the 90s, when we had not the good results, people from the information technology area, they started to say, I was critical already in 1990. But people from the information industry, they said, relax, this is moving in the right direction, just relax. Soon you will have the digital natives, a new generation coming up. And they will solve these things very easy, so just relax, Havard, there's no problem connected to this. And they told us during the 90s that this will have a fantastic influence on the productivity of the European industry. In the 90s, I was running a very big printing company, and we had a growth of productivity from 5 to 9% every year. From 2000 to 2024, the increase of productivity in the European industry has been almost zero. But now they say artificial intelligence will change this. Now productivity will come back to the industry in a fantastic and incredibly good way. That's part of this story. It's very interesting to see and look back at it. It went on, and it went on. In 2007, I created my first database for e-book. And I remember I was standing like this in the biggest publishing house in Norway and presenting the e-book fantastic thing that we have created in our company. On the front there was one of the most famous publishers in Norway. So I said to him, could I ask you, what will be your percentage of e-book in 2017, 10 years from now? And he answered immediately, said between 45 and 50%. In 2017, it was 2.6% e-book. There was not happening what I thought should happen with the e-book. And if you read Ferris Jabber, who is a co-editor of the Scientific America, in 2015 he said it's about to peak. The e-book is about to peak, and it peaked in 2015 and 16. Still, the situation with the audiobook is going up, but look at it at a European level, 3% of the total turnover in the book industry in EU, 3% is the audiobook, 13% is the e-book. But this is rather big differences from one country to another country. If you look at the Nordic countries, maybe Holland, UK, you will see a strong growth, more like 25, 26, 27% in the audiobook area. But it's interesting to see the difference from country to country in this world. Ferris Jabber, he did another thing. He said, I have found 10 evaluations from schools in the United States. Not from Silicon Valley, because Silicon Valley don't use pads or tablets. The parents there know what they should do. So he said, the surprising thing for me that those 10 reviews that has been done here in the schools of the United States, all of them is a little bit negative to the digital situation, but it should soon improve. But it was the first time I really read an article about these kind of things, but soon new things come up from the research area. First of all, I had this heading here about the book. There's so many books out there, and a book is not a book is not a book. Book is money. It depends on the content and what is the market and who is going to read it and what is the use of the book. Just to remind you that a book is not a book, is not a book. I'm going to talk the most about this in the middle there, what is happening in the educational sector. Young people today is our market tomorrow. Let's go deeper into this area. Here you can see that was some 1139 pupils read the text from screen. I mean, this is follow-up things coming after Ferris Jabber wrote these things, and there is a lot of research done in Europe these years. Still, I think that there is not negative everything, but we have very strong results from this area, very strong results that shows that we should not forget the analog learning, the analog teaching and everything. All pupils, based on 3 different levels, made a significant weaker result from the digital test compared to the paper-based test. The difference in favor of paper were significant both for boys and girls. The biggest difference were among the most clever girls. This was in 2016. Also, the researchers tried to say something about what is the background, what is the reason why this is happening. And they're talking about skimming as a part of it, leads to a cognitive pressure in the brain. When children read on screen, they are using reading strategies, like what they are doing in other areas outside reading text. This way of reading leads to high speed, but not deep reading followed by understanding. This kind of reading might be efficient when it is about finding and scanning information, but are less efficient when it comes to a deeper understanding of the text. Just in the middle there, something that is really interesting is that we can see that we can talk about children, we can talk about young people, we can talk about different kind of levels, but there's a lady that for half a year ago took her doctoral disputation about you and me. And he said, you are also affected by this kind of thing, lack of concentration, lack of focus, you are always running around, you are jumping from one thing to another, always, all the time. So it's not only a question about young people, children and things like that, but it's also things about us sitting here, adult people. This is probably the biggest study that has been done in Europe. I guess that many of you have heard about this. It's called the Stavanger Declaration. It's not because it's from Stavanger, but because the report was declared and reported and signed in Stavanger in 2018. And as you can see, there was a major participation from researchers, from pupils, from younger people and everything. Some 71,450, I think it was, young people. And there was also a meta-analysis of 54 earlier research reports that was included in this. And this study also made comparing results from different years, from 2000 until 2018. And the big question, when you have a study like this in many, many European countries at the same time, was, are the results changing based on experience and insight in digital tech, based on thinking about digital natives? The difference of the understanding of the read material are significant. First of all, related to information-based text, not the same level on storytelling text. If the time available for reading is limited, the difference in favor of paper is increasing. Skimming and scrolling has a negative effect on understanding of the read text. Most interesting, the difference in favor of paper has increased since the year 2000. So for, I would say, 20 years, PISA results, Pearl results, in country after country after country. Look at Finland, who was a top scorer for many, many years. They went down like this. They went down in their skills for 20 years, but still some of our tech suppliers said, just wait. Just wait. We have waited for 40 years now about a result that was better than earlier. And the second thing is, if you look at this main customer we have, 6 years old, going to school, he is part of an experiment. We have done experiments in this area for 40 years. In 1984, I said we have to change total the education of teachers at the university level or other levels that we have for teachers. Because if we should have any success with digitalization of education in Norway or Sweden or Denmark or Finland, we have to enlighten our teachers. Still, this is a very, very big problem. We have not made that happen. One of the most critical things today, and most of the strongest reactions we have in several countries today, is that the teachers themselves we have not been educated in this. We don't have the ambitions and possibilities to do these kind of things. So it's really, really a strange situation that we have been doing this for 40 years. One heavy technological supporter. Remember, if you take iPhone, they have a turnover on a yearly basis higher than the gross national product of Sweden. Do they have some power? I think so. Everybody here in this room knows that is true. We can't play this game. It's really big power behind. But this is really an interesting and a very, very strong situation. And one very central person in this information technology said, approximately 1 year ago, he said, I think that it will take, after a question from the audience, I think it will take 30 to 40 more years until we have the hybrid solution with a good balance between the digital and analog. I asked then a question to him and said, you think then we should use 70 to 80 years to experiment with my basic customer, 6 years old? I couldn't finish my sentence because the whole audience was starting to clap their hands, because I thought, this is not good. This is not good at all. We have done several wrong things over a long period of time, and now it's time to relax. Or what Ed Holm, the Minister of Education in Sweden, said, we have to take 2 steps backward and 1 step forward to find a new balance. But there are many more things coming up. This is the name of the Stavanger Declaration. On screen, we tend to skim the text. We tend to overestimate our understanding. To be honest, I very often feel it myself. I'm reading extremely fast when I'm skimming the text on a laptop or on my phone or wherever, and I think that I will remember it, I will see it, I will understand it. 1 or 2 days later, I see I don't really got the most important point here. So it's not only about children and young people, it's about all of us coming into this situation. Children have to learn strategies for deep reading on different medias, and children at all ages must be stimulated to read books on paper. That's a truth. And what do we want for the future? What kind of reading and reading skills do we want to improve when planning for the future? Just say, my granddaughter came home, she's very small, came home with her tablet or iPad and showed me that this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. There was 1 page from a book. And it said, read this text 3 times, and then you're finished. There was not a word about what book it was. What was the story about these kind of things? There was no invitation to really go into some other children's life to understand what they were doing. It was just to read a text piece. You think this is just one time happening? Happening all the time. All the time. And it's absolutely a misunderstanding of reading, understanding, and to start to love reading. There is many, many examples of these kind of things in education today, and I think that many teachers are sitting there and think, I don't really like it, but I don't know how to handle it. I don't know exactly how to handle it. This is a major problem, I think. And how should the education authorities act in order to learn from what we know today? How should they act in order to stimulate writing, reading, and first of all, long reading and reading of literature? And what is also very important, that I can see that among children, and I've been talking with teachers and people from the school administration, I can see that they don't longer learn to write. And we know from neuropsychologists that there is a combination between using your hand for writing and what is happening up here. It's about learning, understanding, it's about thinking, it's about creativity, it's about a lot of the things that we are missing today in school. This is extremely important, and I think it's as important as reading isolated for itself, to write, and to learn to write, and to use these kind of things. It's so important. Before I come to the final comments here, I would say one thing that's really interesting. On the 28th of April 2023, there was a report in Sweden that was extremely interesting. That was in the shadow of the Minister Edholm, some talking about take 2 steps backward and 1 forward to really understand, see, and get hold of the right things. It was a report from the Karolinska Institutet. It's a research institute in Sweden. And they said a very critical report about the school administration and system in Sweden. And I have presented this report both in Norway and Denmark, and they both said, we recognize these kind of things. If you go into the administration, the whole system, the whole legislation, everything in Sweden, in the first half year of 2023, it's still based on an estimation that the future is digital. It's 40 years old. There is absolutely no advice for how the schools or the teachers or school administration should navigate in this system at all. And that's really put down on paper in a very, very good way. And there are several other items that is mentioned that say that, Mrs. Edholm, I think you should think twice, and you have to go deeper into your own administration, your own bureaucracy, and see what's going on and what is your structure and what is your tools into the future. I was visiting a big meeting with politicians some time ago, just 3-4 months ago, about a new, what we call a public business plan for the school and education in Norway. There was many skilled people on the stage telling what they have found, and a long written document, NOU 2337. You know, in that presentation from these very skilled people, there was no pupil. There was not one single pupil in the audience, of course, but there was no pupil in the report. There was only about administration levels, cooperation and everything, but the name pupil was never mentioned in this report. It's very, very strange, and that is really filling up what I felt about this report from Karolinska Institutet, that we have a really strong work to do, even if we want to look for a good balance between digital and analog. We really need to look deeper into it, because something went wrong. Something went wrong. We have been experimented with children for a very, very long time, and we have to stop it, and we have to take a rest, take 2 steps backward, and then slowly a step forward to find the hybrid solution. I also understand for publishing houses that this could be a little bit difficult. Why? Yes, because they invested a lot of money since 2000 into digital solutions for schools, education and everything. And now they have to, let's say, also take maybe 1 or 2 steps backwards in order to see how we can balance it, and may also take back some of the people that has left the publishing house in the meantime. I'm talking a lot with educationally responsible people in some publishing houses, and I really recognize that I have a challenge also to see what I should do about it. There are in some countries a tendency to make a change based on newest research and findings. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm going to have soon a video seminar in Brazil. I've been working with a university in Germany. I've been working with some researchers in Helsinki, in Finland. There's a lot of interest now in this field, because people can see that we have made some mistakes over a very, very long time. The book is not dead. The book is there and will be an important part of the education tomorrow. It stopped. Could someone help me with the next picture? I think it's the last picture. Yep. I just want to say that before we go to some questions, there is my mail. If you want to have 1 or 2 of the research reports that I have been mentioned today, because there are many out there today, and there are many countries in Europe working with it, and they are not working with it because they want to take the life of the digital process that's going on around us. They are doing it because they want to do the best for the pupils and for young people, and also, after some time, also for adult people. And I mentioned there in the bottom some of them that has been inspiration for me. Professor Anne Mangen, Professor Naomi Barron, Adrian van der Weel, he was a very important part of Stavanger Declaration, and so on. And Kari Spjelnes is last one who had this doctoral disputess now half a year ago about adult people and their missing out of concentration and things like that. So don't hesitate to contact me if you wonder of something, if you have other questions that will not be raised today about it. And I don't know all the answers to everything, but I'm more than normal interested in this field, not only because of those 2 children at 6 years, but I think it's about the entire economy, it's about the society, it's about creating peace in Europe for the coming years. It's about something extremely important. As I said in the beginning with Aristoteles and Sigurd Holte, it's very important. So that was what I should like to say now. So thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you for having me here. And if there will be some questions, you are welcome to put them forward, I think. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.